Hello, and welcome to another Write Once, Read Many from Arc 26. This time covering 26.5. I don't have a speed draw for these, but these little cartoons are quite cute, and Vic made them a GIF so that it changes channels between all four. All right. Well, no one's in the chat yet, but I guess I'll just soldier on. So, as the reminder, the audience participation question is to create and describe your own goopy nilbog creature. They don't actually have to be goopy. For themes, the constant theme throughout the entire book, escalation. Not only is Jack escalating things, but Taylor's like, let's double escalate so that he gets surprised, and then we just play all our cards at the same time. And then Defiant's like, okay. There's like themes of playing to people's strengths and how there's a complicated rock paper scissors of what powers are like good at countering what other powers, and I think that is well displayed in rerouting which teams are fighting which enemies and stuff. Let's see here. We've of course got the lingering consequences from Dragon being taken out, but I'm not sure if that's if lingering consequences is a theme. Maybe it is. We'll go with it. All right. So, we will get into the chapter. So it starts outside of the walls of Ellisburg. Taylor has only just escaped at the end of the previous chapter, and there's all these different capes from the Protectorate and the Wards teams fighting here. Like, monsters are popping over the side. Like, the very first one is a gargoyle, and as soon as anything comes up, it just gets completely mobbed by capes and powers firing in. Shuffle is Revel's main, like, lieutenant, and Shuffle has, like, a land teleporting power that he uses to, like, and it's a little random, but he uses it until it creates a pretty good wall. And, like, fixes the breaks in the Ellisburg wall. Let's see here. That and then okay. Yes, the wall is shored up, but things keep, like, burrowing from underground and popping over the walls, and things will fly over, and they'll, like, kind of just chuck other smaller goblins outside the walls. So, there's a bunch of bullshit. They're pulling all these different tricks. It's made clear a bunch of times how any one given Nilbog creature isn't very powerful, but each one is like a chance that somebody gets injured or even killed by, like, I don't know, a stray spike thrower that we didn't notice, as we saw many of those in the past. Um, let's see here. And, they got like a big battering ram style creature to pull open the wall and stuff. But they're essentially just, they've got this locked down. Taylor's fighting with bugs, but she's not running around fighting. She doesn't really talk about it that often during the chapter, but I believe during the entire time that she's watching these other fights, she's constantly fighting in swarm combat style, but like, just at a computer, beep booping and ordering people. Let's see here. Yeah. So they announced that there are 2 new cities being attacked. Redfield and Hyde Park are named, but or Redfield's still ongoing, and then Hyde Park gets named. But weirdly, they never name the last city that's being attacked. It's just another city. Yeah. Shuffle gets a moment of personality when cause he barely gets any lines when Revel is saying about the new situations popping up and says 2 more attacks, the Redfield is ongoing, which means we have 3 crisis situations, and then set up by the Slaughterhouse 9, and then Shuffle says 4 if you count this, and like obviously we should count this because it's Jack's fault. And then yeah, Shuffle keeps rebuilding the wall as it's getting battering rammed and stuff. Jouster's here, and when Revel says this is getting out of control, he says, "You're implying we had control." For some of these capes, I feel like I've got to read their whole line, because, like, they get one more dialogue line, like, ever, some of them. So, I just want to honor these Dark Horse favorites, if there are any Jouster and Shuffle fans out there. I'm a Jouster fan. I think he's a cool, weird side character. I like his power a lot, and that he's a jerk. Anyway, so let's see here. Yeah, Taylor's monitoring the fight. And she hears Golem talking, so she starts talking to him. She's trying to reassure him and say this was a lose-lose situation, so it wasn't really his fault. And he's like, no, I definitely could have done something different to make it better. And maybe he's right if he had, like, Contessa's power or something. But in a realistic sense, he did a pretty good job of goleming. And she says, no, we played the cards we had available. It wasn't enough. Bonesaw's power and Siberian's invulnerability made for ugly trump cards. There had to be a way. We're coping. And then, he's, like, questioning that. She starts saying that they're winning every challenge, or they're not winning. They're surviving every challenge, more or less, getting through that have been set in front of them. And when he says that doesn't mean we're doing okay, then she's not sure what to say. So, Golem is going off to be redirected to a new battlefield, more or less. And then Taylor is thinking it through, And Taylor's like, I see what's happening. Like, the reason Jack didn't, like, react as though we're helping, and that was a surprise, is that he knew we would help the whole time, regardless of whatever. So he already set it up to be at that difficulty level, and now he's upping the ante so that the golem actually has to decide whether to save people or chase after him. And it's pretty cool. Also, she does think of him as Theo several times rather than Golem, and it's like she'll think of Bitch almost exclusively as Rachel at this point in the story, but like rarely does she vacillate in her mind like this, the way she thinks of someone's name. So the Theo Golem stuff has gotten all mixed up in her head. And then, yeah, she's thinking about how Jack has, like, carefully measured and calculated all this. And then, after getting sort of briefly checked over, she's, thinking further about, like, oh man, we've just kind of dropped in the bucket, killed off some of the 9, and how she and Jack are like opposite sides of the same coin and what their strengths are. And she's thinking about how, in the grand scheme of things, he thinks of the clones as being like completely expendable. That's why he's not worried about the survivability of the different groups. He's just doing like fun pairings. Stuff like that. And then he thinks about how, or she thinks about how with all the, with Nilbog, he'll have just tons and tons of more expendable forces, and rightly points out that that he likes that they're all different freaks. I think that that's definitely appealing. Like someone like Nilbog is far more appealing than like a clone of someone you used to work with. Boring clones. We've already seen them. Anyway, so, she decides that Golem was right. She really rethinks her stuff. She digs down, and when she questions what her starting premise was, she actually follows through with the questioning and changes her mind. And then, she brushes off the medical assistants, and then, she thinks about how bad her whole back is going to feel tomorrow because she is probably going to be bruised all of the way. And then, but all gas, no brakes. It's Taylor we're talking about. It's like even compared to other characters, other like heroes and stuff who take a bunch of injuries, Taylor's pain tolerance is through the roof. Yeah, and this is when she thinks about how she's not going to fully join the battle. She just is going to be biting to death a bunch of these minions with her bugs remotely while she does stuff. And boop, 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 boop. She's, still accepting the idea that they weren't actually getting out ahead of Jack. She's really up in her brain thoughts about that, and that she was getting caught up in Jack's rhythm, and that they need to break the cycle. And so she calls Defiant. She says, not a priority, but get in touch when you can. And then starts opening up a bunch of video feeds from the different situations. The main situations being the Hyde Park Slaughterhouse 9 contingent, the Redfield Slaughterhouse 9 contingent, and the unnamed city where the Chicago wards are contingent. And she has cameras posted. And, like, Jouster was just with her, so he must have taken off in a dragon ship and, like, just booked it to Hyde Park, which I know that they're constantly doing that right now, so... And, like, helicoptering around and stuff because of the lack of dragon. But they are just transferring forces like crazy. They didn't go into this situation unprepared. Boop, 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 boop. So first, checking in on Redfield, seeing, you know, the Undersiders and the Brockton Bay wards. We've talked about what that group is comprised of before, but as a reminder, it's right now Gru, Imp, Bitch, Clockblocker, Vista, Crucible, and Toggle. I want to say that, let's see here. Oh, Perion's also there, and Perion and Foil. I forgot about them because when their powers get turned off by Hatchet Face, they become some of the most useless of the bunch. Like, oh, suddenly I can't fight at all. So let's put them on the end of the roster. Perion, Foil. I did list them in my big list for who gets in the dragon ship at the end. They're actually at the top of that list. I kind of reversed it from the way that Taylor had listed them. But, yeah, Perion and Foil are there. And then, let's see. Boop, 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 boop. I lost my place a little bit. All right, let's get higher on the document. Okay, she explained Skin Slip's power briefly, and then explains Miasma's power. Skin Slip can sort of splorch around. That's the thing that matters for this chapter. And Miasma is like a guy who turns invisible and emits gas that makes you have a headache, then makes you blind, and then puts you in a coma. But, you know, if you have one of those indiscriminate attackers, say, you can get his ass. And then, so Skin Slip, Hatchet Face, Miasma, and some murder rats are all there. And, you know, we remember Murder Rat's powers from the other chapters, hopefully, and Hatchet Face's as well. Hatchet Face turns off powers, and Murder Rat is, got a suite of powers, one of which is that if she cuts you, you can either get or I think it's both, actually. It inflicts festering wounds that, like, get worse over time, like they're a video game status effect. Oh, hey, it's Greg. Hello. So it's the festering wounds plus leaves like a mark on the person at the point of injury where Murder Rat can teleport through, which was Mouse Protector's power, which is like hilariously annoying. It's not clear. I think if Mouse Protector was doing it, maybe it would be more versatile. Like, I'm not sure if it loses power, but I had imagined myself at different points that if Mouse Protector was doing the thing, she can leave behind a slash on a wall or something and teleport to it, not just a person. But maybe I'm wrong. We never get to see Mouse Protector do her thing. I just think it would be more annoying that way, and she's supposed to be like a maximum annoying cape, who everyone was annoyed by. Boop, boop. And so, you know, the murder rats are leaping around, and they're not sure where they need to run away from Miasma guy, and Hatchet Point, like, a hatchet face at some point it is above them and jumps down into their midst, and that's when everybody's powers start going away. It says that Rachel's dogs like almost immediately start sloughing off their bodies. So so that's like a really strong powers shutdown, because we've seen in other cases, if Rachel is like, not using her powers on them, if she's disconnected from them, then they do slowly like deflate basically, but like you got like half an hour or whatever. And in this case it's like seconds, and the outside casing is just falls apart. And then, Parian can't do anything, has no powers here. Foil shoots with a crossbow, but basically doesn't get anything done. Again, has no power here. And then, they're just sort of, they're trying to not get completely hemmed in, but they got the rats, the hatchets, and the skin slips on a couple sides, and they're all closing in. So now that their cover from the dogs is no longer buying them a few seconds, they're all just booking it. Imp and Crucible also mention their powers being off. There's so many characters in this chapter. I feel like outside of an Endbringer fight, this is, in fact, including an Endbringer fight, there's a chance this is the most named capes, like, of any chapter. And I guess I mean not just named capes who are like briefly on screen, but people who get individual lines or they take actual actions within the chapter. Because I'm not counting any of the like off-screen like random capes or whatever. Like, we know that there's like 20, 30 plus capes at Ellisburg, like just fighting and fighting. But they're not on my list here. Anyway, so Taylor feels hopeless. This actually feels like in Kingdom Hearts 1, that moment during the final boss fight when Sora's friends are pulled away into two separate like darkness portals, and he's alone, and he loses hope for a second. And then he hears Riku's voice, his best friend, who had previously been swayed to the dark side. He's like, I can't believe you're giving up that easy. And then the friendship of Riku, having rejoined the light, even only in his heart, is what inspires Sora. Some sort of, give me strength moment, or he might yell courage. He's the type to just yell these little catchphrases. But what Gru says is, we're not powerless. We've got strong costumes. We know how to fight. And he's like rallying them. Like, obviously he's got a cool deep voice, and I have like, I'm not even doing my deep voice thing here. I'm just excited about this moment for Gru. It's pretty cool. Tattletale's being kind of a Debbie Downer and is like, oh, well, you're not going to be able to take on him. And then Gru's like, look, we're just going to run away. Then we're going to figure something out. And then she's like, but you're too slow. And then Gru's like, be constructive. And then Rachel has an idea. Like, Gru asks the group for ideas and options, and Rachel has her idea. She turns around and she changes targets of her dogs, and she, instead of having them go after Hatchet Face, has them go after one of the murder rats, and suddenly they like break a hole in their the enemy lines by biting the shit out of Murder Rat. It does like it does actually get away, but well, she, I should say, not it. She does get away, and she has to, like, it says, slamming her claws through a plate glass window to grab the inside of the window frame. Blood ran down her wrists. Yeah, so it's like she has to cut up her arms, like, and mangle them to do this. But they do have bone saw enhancements, so she can probably turn off her pain sensors. But then again, maybe Jack thought it was, like, funnier if they couldn't turn off their pain sensors. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably what happened, is Jack thought it was funnier. Then Tattletale reminds them to watch the dog who was hit by Mouse Protector because she can teleport back through it. And Vista turns toward the dog. Like, everybody else is fighting everything else, but Vista, in their, like, retreat formation, is just, like, eyes on the prize staring at the dog. And as we may recall, Vista has a very powerful Tinker pistol, which still works. Tinker stuff still works even when Hatchet Face is around, which kind of makes sense, but almost doesn't. It's like the gear still needs powers, but I guess what he's doing is he's cutting off their connection to their Corona Palencia, so that's why the Tinker gear still works. Probably. Hopefully. Anyway. But I mean, Tinker Gear typically still channels things, like, scientifically the same way powers do. Just, they don't need to be attached to a person. So anyway, you know, there's this moment when everybody else is focusing on Hatchet Face. Murder Rat comes through, and she manages to, like, lash out and hit Crucible, like, elbow him in the throat, and then tries to cut at his leg with a foot blade, because, you know, Murder Rat's got foot blades as well as hand blades. And then Vista fucking blows her away with the Tinker pistol, like, one-shots her. And then she turns around and also shoots the Hatchet Face in the chest, and again blows him away in a single shot. This is the guy who is described as a steamroller could roll over him and he'd just get back up. So Kidwin has given her a pretty good little gun. Reminds me of one of the last scenes in Consider Phlebas, when somebody whips out a little gun that nobody knew they had and is just like blam, blam, and just blows away the enemies. What a good book. So we know that Hatchet Face is dead right away because Gru is able to use his darkness. And it does block the feeds for a second, and Taylor's like, realizes that she's had, like, tons of tension in her body. She's been clenching her fists and stuff. She didn't have information worthy of putting through to the comms and distracting them, so she wasn't communicating with them. She was just, like, fighting on the Ellisburg battlefield with the bugs while, like, staring at camera feeds. Hoping that she would have something good to interject. And then, and, you know, she's getting information, she's getting ideas. I don't think this was a waste of time. This is definitely worth her focus. But it is kind of interesting and funny to, like, think that she hasn't actually been, like, communicating to that battlefield at all, just been, like, losing her mind watching. Let's see here. And she even thinks in italicized text, escalations. Yeah, so you know, she checks back in on the Ellisburg battle. She says that the dragon gargoyle is still fighting, but that chunks of it are being blasted away. And I'm like, well, you're not going to survive that long when chunks of you are being blasted away. But she also describes it as a suicidal attack. So, then the Azazels have finally, under Saint's clumsy direction, managed to get a nanothorn barrier erected around some of the area. And I gotta say, at the Goblin's reckless, like, just charge at all costs attack, that's probably a pretty good barrier fence to stop them. Although some of them can produce flames, so they could destroy it if they thought to torch it. Anyway, so then Taylor changes the screens since she can't see the Undersiders group while Gru's power is in effect. And on the set of screens that she sets up for the Chicago wards, unnamed city, it says they ventured into what seemed to be a war zone. Civilians were fleeing in panic while the heroes advanced against the press of the crowd with a steady, wary caution. So then when they turn the corner, she sees... Oh, I guess I can go through... let's see here. So this is the Ellisburg image, which she can see through somebody's camera probably. Then this is the, we haven't seen Redfield yet, but this is the Redfield image. I'll come back to it later. Then this is the Siberian thing, like, the Siberian, with an oversized cube going down the street. And, I like that Taylor initially, sees it, and it seems like an Endbringer, because this does seem like a weird Endbringer form. And if it was an Endbringer that was a cube carried by a person, maybe even, I thought maybe having kind of an Atlas type imagery, maybe it would be like a really strong, I mean, Behemoth already did Earthquakes, so I think that maybe Earthquakes is too bland. But I was thinking of, like, Atlas could, like, stomp around and stuff, because... Whatever. An Atlas... an Atlas-based Endbringer would be pretty good. And Greg says, who wouldn't fear the Cube? And it's true. Cube is fearsome. And it also, I was going to say, reminded me of... in Evangelion, especially in the Rebuild movies, one of the, like, aliens, one of the angels is, I guess they're not aliens. They're, like, from Earth? I don't know. Anyway, one of the angels is just a giant prism, like a D8, floating in space. I would guess that Greg Romuel, if that's the one you think it is, the D8, then yes. And in the movie version, it becomes like a really cool, like, liquid crystal form and does like a beam thing. In the old 90s TV version, it was funny because it was just like always just, oh, I'm a D8. I know I shoot lasers, but I don't change forms or anything. I'm just a D8. It's fine. Yeah. Anyway, so, sidetrack about Evangelion over. This is a cute Siberian, not Evangelion. And then the last one is... Oh, no, I guess the Redfield is the one we looked at. So this is Murder Rats. In my brain for a second, I thought this was a night hag succumbing to the ground. This is the Nixes and night hags and skin slips. Over here, the Hyde Park. And yeah, Redfield. We'll go back to the GIF. All right. So, bleep blorp. So, yeah, 8 Siberians are there. One of them's carrying the cube. All of the rest of them are just sort of leaping about, doing their thing. They keep coming back to the center, then leaping out and like going like just slamming through buildings. And like Taylor thinks to herself, like 7 people every like however long, but it's like 7 people are the amount of victims that they grab and bring back. But like they're just recklessly slamming through populated areas. So like you got to imagine they're just demolishing and destroying the bodies of anyone that comes in their path, I guess. And they can leap quite quickly. So they're busting through a whole building. You don't really got that much warning. You can hear the building destructions in the distance, but oftentimes you might think we should take cover in the building we're already in. But that's a bad move in this case, but how would you know that? There's a lot of factors when you're trying to flee a parahuman murder spree. And then yeah, so Weaver calls in to Tecton's group. Oh, and as a reminder, the people facing off against the eight Siberians are Tecton, Grace, Cuff, Wanton, Cadence, N-Force. Truly, I don't know what N-Force does or who N-Force be. Maybe I'm just missing something. Let's see. Let's see if they're listed as a character on the Parahumans wiki. Sting 26.5. Not listed on the characters in the chapter. That's a good start. And or characters. Anyway, so I think that generally this N-Force character might just exist to be a single weird one-off joke. Yeah, not even listed on the full Parahumans characters wiki page. But the people in the Chicago Wards group are Tecton, Grace, Cuff, Wanton, Cadence, N-Force, and Romp. And let's see here. So when telling Tecton that he needs to run, then Tecton is, aghast at this idea because they need to save the civilians. Taylor's telling him that they're not going to be able to do anything and they'll die. So they start... she does say that there's like one thing that they could try, that she's subject to gravity. So they'd need to drop her into a pit and then destroy the cube at the same time. And they don't think that it would really work. And then they would need to be able to kill all the masters inside before they could, grab and defend the cube again. And she doesn't think that they're really cut out for this mission. Also, the cube is a mannequin device. That's like a shell from his technology, so it's not like easy to destroy. But she tells them she needs them to leave this scenario, and she's going to send in another team. She wants them to go to Redfield, then defend the retreat of the Undersiders and the Brockton Bay wards, she'll send to fight the Siberian clump, we'll call them. She doesn't wait to hear that they're going to follow her order. She just cuts the comms after saying that she's got to go, and defiance on the thing, which is why she leaves the call so fast. And he was listening in on the communications, so he knows the plan, and he's already sending a helicopter to the Undersiders. And then she questions why no dragon suit, and he's like, no AI right now. They shut down our server factories, so no AI. No, he doesn't go into details. He just says the dragon suits can't go on their own. And she feels like her bugs aren't doing that much against Nilbog's army. But apparently the other capes who are containing them are doing a good job and like just blasting. But they're, she acknowledges that Jack still got exactly what he needed, which is like a ongoing distraction. It's like a continuing fight. Even if they didn't lose any capes, they've just wasted all this time. And then, boop, boop, boop. All the, Saint can only control, one Azazel at a time, so we will see stuff, and, Taylor won't understand it, but we know what's going on. Some of the Azazels who are, there were, doing stuff, setting up the fences and whatever, and they all go still, and, Suit takes off, to reinforce the Undersiders. So he's not explaining to her that Dragon is down and that Saint is in control, but we obviously know. And then she talks about how the reason they couldn't try and go after the 9 while they were in stasis is because they would need to know where the exit point of the portal was before they tried to decode the portal. And now they know where one of the portals is, in Ellisburg, right at the dining spot. And so... Defiant, to him, this sounds like a crazy fucking idea to go back into Ellisburg, possibly the most dangerous crisis point, even on the walls, and then to be in the midst of it. Who knows how many creatures might be in there? Mutants. Mutilated. And then, Taylor's pressing this idea, and Defiant's saying, no, we can't get to where the portal was. And she's like, we're losing. We need to take a big, bold action. And he's still, kind of shocked at this. He's like, you want to use the portal entrance, knowing where it is. And then she keeps pressing on, yes. But she asks for a sturdier ship and basically a crack squad of people to go in, all these capes she can trust. And then, they talk about, he's initially objecting because they're, losing all these scenarios, basically, and he's like, we can't afford the forces. And then she explains that Jack is still escalating at in a measured pace, and that she thinks they need to break the tempo and go all in, as she says, Then this is when they discuss the plan to bring in the Tanda Cape, who can drop kind of a meteor style attack. And then they talk about how they have backup people from it says 2 elite Cauldron members, which we'll see is Contessa and the Numberman. And then are sort of extra pocket things that they don't dip into here. The Las Vegas Capes, who had left the Protectorate, they still have them in reserve. The Ambassadors, which we've got to assume the Ambassadors are headed by Citrine now. And then Dinah, who is specifically waiting, so they could use the Las Vegas Capes or the Ambassadors, but Dinah is waiting for the final moment when they're actually battling Jack to dip into her power reserves. Because part of what Jack's trying to do is waste their resources on Capes who have, like, limited amounts of power. And then... yeah, so Defiant's like, I'm in on the Ultra team that's going into Ellisburg. And Taylor is... It does a page break. I'm not sure how much time passes, but they're like moving forces around and stuff, and she is again watching monitors. She says, we needed good capes, powerful capes. Too many were occupied elsewhere. And so the contingent who has finally made it to Hyde Park... Okay, I see. So the jouster getting there is after the page break. This group consists of only a few named characters and a bunch of unnamed characters. We have Jouster, Hoyden, several Dragon's Teeth, and a bunch of unnamed capes. But it's the New York teams and the Texas teams. She's watching from Jouster's camera. She says, I knew him, and it would afford me the most opportunities to see other capes and figure out their identities. And then they in Hyde Park, their contingent of heroes get there, and it's essentially empty. It's like, wow, there's nothing. And then they have video of the city, so they kind of rule out that nice guys are there. Although honestly, you can do mixed contingents of 9 as well that would have nice guys and nixes. I don't know. So, Stranger Protocols are in effect, and then the Dragon's Teeth says, we're going full dark. Eyes on the lightning. And it's like, oh my god. Dragon and Defiant are such nerds, but that also sounds badass to me. If you're the type of person reading this far into the book, I think that you're on board with someone saying, eyes on the lightning. Let's see here. Taylor even thinks to herself. So she responds, "Eyes on the lightning." She's doing the dragon roll. So she's having to step up. I would say one of the reasons we don't see the time skip time period is because there are fewer moments where Taylor theoretically has to do this sort of thing. Like in the Echidna fight, she stepped up her game by like a huge amount, directing all the capes, having like active beacons everywhere, like 3-dimensional signals, words written in the air, like shifting directionality so that people could different people could see them. And right now she's kind of doing like another version of that. She's fighting a bug fight that's so like far removed from her top of mind that we never check in on like the bug fight for like long section. I guess never is strong. There are just huge portions where we don't check in on the Ellisburg wall fight like at all, and she's theoretically fighting in it the entire time. And then she's she's trying to guide all of these different people through their different cams and confirm what they're doing and call out orders to them. So like it's just another format of being this like administrator, the queen administrator, as Glastonbury would say, but also like her thinker power does directly lend her assistance here because of her amount of multitasking, the amount of different feeds she can focus on at the same time. And these are these moments that are like pushing her limits, kind of, but they're like expanding her powers. Even if it's kind of implied that they're expanding her powers, I think that's what we're seeing largely. So, she's saying things are too quiet. They're, Jouster startles. There's like a Psychosoma there, which Psychosoma's basic powers run down. Oh yeah, sorry. Hyde Park's group has, for 9 members, Night Hags, Nixes, and Psychosomas. Multiple of each, and I don't think there are any other types here. But the Psychosoma power is that he affects a human and seemingly like uses a power similar to Labyrinth's to have alternate dimension like monster body parts come out, and so they become like a twisted, weird, almost non-humanoid monster. And then when that thing dies, it undoes the effect and leaves the normal person there. But you have to be like super careful not to kill the person also. Like you can't leave anything that has like an effect. You have to do like 1-taps and stuff. So that's like a whole, conundrum unto itself. But even though the Psychosoma creatures are, appearing basically, like transforming their teammates into Psychosoma creatures, then they're still ordered not to attack because it could be a trick. And then what is it? The guy, like, Taylor thinks that it's an illusion, and then she thinks to herself the real thing about it being similar to Labyrinth's power. But then they take action as though it's a real Psychosoma thing, and they burn the changing Psychosoma creature. But it turns out that under the Nyx cloud, the cape is just incinerated. And then it does dispel the illusion. And then, that's when they realize Nyxes are also there. And, they're all backing up. They were already wearing gas masks on the chance that there was Nyx there. And then this is when Jouster uses his lance to make like a lightning blast, a light pole, and then it breaks a bunch of Nyx illusions over the entire like zone, and there's, oh no, the whole place is covered in bodies. Anywhere that they wouldn't walk on a main footpath just is covered in bodies. So like the whole idea that Jack's gonna kill 1,000 people at this point is kind of like hasn't he already killed 1,000 people? It's like almost small potatoes. I feel like they're going to kill far more than 1,000. I don't know. But if they were left to their own devices. But so with this all of this uncovered, they see these night hag people who are, the night hags are like, they're like, shaker changers, kind of, where they infect an area with their like shaker effect, and then when their main body is like destroyed or whatever, they can condense from the shaker effect that they've left in the area. So you have to kill them and dispel the shaker effect, which I think it uses up a portion of it every time they become a solid lady again. But yeah, they start trying to open fire on them, and they keep not doing enough damage to the night hags because they keep, you know, recreating their bodies. And then things start going like kind of really bad. And then you know, the Nixes cover everything up. They can't see the night hags anymore. And then suddenly, Jouster gets completely got. He gets eaten by a night hag. It says, and they were gone. Jouster moved to strike the light post again, only for black hands to grab him and pull him into the darkness and illusory fog. The image on my screen distorted and went utterly black. There was a sound, like a slow, wet grinding sound, chewing, as if from a dozen mouths at once. I changed camera perspectives. So, unfortunately, much as Jouster said earlier in the chapter, they didn't have it under control to begin with. And then they're not sure how to break up the fog. They throw a flashbang and it doesn't work. And two more people are becoming psychosoma creatures, but it could be like illusions again. And then we don't see the portal open, but we hear guns being cocked, and Contessa and the Number Man are suddenly there, both holding guns. And they take out the correct psychosoma like thing, and then they just like wildfire into the darkness with Contessa's power of doing everything exactly right to get the outcome she wants. And the Number Man, apparently after she has dispelled a bunch of stuff, he fires 3 different times into the darkness and takes out 3 of the enemies. I'm not exactly sure who killed who, but theoretically the Psychosomas were defensively using their power on their allies or even themselves, because there's like this weird shot pattern where Contessa will fire twice, then wait, and then one, then 2 in rapid succession, and she does this a couple times. So to me, that's her like clearing targets who were being changed defensively. Anyway, and then they kill 2 Nixes, 3 Psychosomas, and 4 Night Hags, and then bail. Hoyden, who's still alive, when questioned, says that was the boogeyman. And some rando who's unnamed asks why they don't go after Jack, and then Taylor thinks about how they're quarantined away, just like Eidolon. He can't be exposed to Jack or whatever. She's even worried about them being on the periphery like this, but she also doesn't think that they have like the resources to like cut through a complex situation like that. I mean, they really chop up the Gordian's knot here. They don't take time to untangle it. They're just like, we have the perfect solution. It's a gun, and also a super brain that lets you do the right thing. well, right in big quotation marks. She says, I noted the capes who were present and still in fighting shape. I'd hoped for Jouster. No such luck. I dialed Hoyden's phone, watched her pick up on the video. Need a hand with something, I said. I'm going to send a ship your way. And then, that scene's with 15 minutes to go, and the next scene is with 10 minutes to go. So however long that took, and then the remainder of the 5. Let's see here. So the Undersiders have reached the unnamed city that Siberian is attacking, and Imp comments on how they've put all their eggs in one basket by putting the Siberians here, and then Tattletale explains that Jack finds the Siberians very boring, and now that there's no mystery behind, now that it's known that the Siberians are projection, Jack is already kind of done with them as a concept, but he can't deny that having one pet Siberian is very, very powerful. And then Taylor's worried this is going to be the moment that they accidentally end the world, and Tattletale's like, no way, no, we'll be fine, no. Which is all very funny. And she even jokes that she's like 93% certain, and just yells at Taylor to calm down. Basically, it's a very cute moment between them, I think. And then let's see here. So they're trying to wait until the perfect moment, and Tattletale's telling them when. It seems like they're in the clear, but Tattletale keeps telling them to wait. And then one of the Siberians loops back early, then leaves again. And then they send out the clock blocker thing and dispel the only Siberian in the area, which is the one carrying the cube. And then the cube falls... the cube falls to the ground. Apparently Clock Blocker's power is stronger than a Siberian projection, and you can't just instantly make a new one, I guess. I do remember it seems like when powers are shorted out, like the stronger the short out mechanism, the longer it goes out for. I don't think that's always true, but it's generally true. And then with the cube on the ground, Vista starts making weak points on it, just like she does for walls and stuff. And then they call in, they warp in the Tonda member, and then the Tonda member uses their power to teleport a building high into the sky and then meteor it onto the ground. Rachel had been escaping on the dogs, and Clock Blocker set up this weird dome device that he had on a backpack that all of the rest of the team like hide in the dome, and then he freezes it with his power, and Taylor's like, this is too bad. I wanted to see the meteor hit. I wanted to see it explode, which I find very funny. And then Taylor is satisfied with this. 8 Siberians seem to be down at once. And then she says into the comms, Rachel's on her way to me. And then, Foil, you know what we're doing? On my way. I'm coming too. I'll be on the comms, says Tattletale. I'm coming too is Parian. And, you know, Taylor thinks to herself when making the call on who to reach out for. Gru was out. I didn't trust him in a face-to-face confrontation against the 9, and he hadn't volunteered. Imp was out as well. Too risky. too much of a coin toss whether her power would be seen through. Yeah, there are so many powers on the 9 that kind of invalidate Imp's thing. And, like, if there were only a few people around, you could kind of, like, determine whether Imp should be there or not. But there's such a variable... Like, so many people could be there. So they're getting their group together, and then she's page break, unclear how much longer. She sees Tecton fighting. He's keeps shaking the ground so that the murder rats can't jump about as sure as they could, like they don't have good footing and such. Sometimes they fall off, sometimes they are able to cling to the sides, but he's just shaking away. Tecton is in combat with a hatchet face, he's far enough back that he's trying to break up the ground beneath them, but they're able to just kind of just run anyway, just with big power legs. They step over the shattered ground. Cuff has a big metal discus that she launches with her metal power, and she can guide it while it's going, so she more or less can't miss here. And then it slams into one of the hatchet faces and, goes into his collarbone, but he's he's too powerful. He's too tough. So he's springing a leak of blood, but still breaking into a run with his axe. And then she tries to throw another disc at him, but a murder rat jumps over. And, luckily Murder Rat's got blades attached to her, so she can kind of telekinetically bat Murder Rat aside out of the air, which is, it's got to be a nice feeling to just be like, nope, get out of here, Ratty. And then Grace uses a kick to try and kick the Murder Rat, but then instead gets bounced on the ground, head striking pavement, and doesn't get up. It's pretty bad. Grace has enhanced timing and such, and she couldn't... It wasn't enough to activate her momentary invincibility that she gets. Murder Rat's just too unpredictable. Too murder. These the floppy, splorchy skin slips are moving around, trying to flank them. And then they've got Romp there, as mentioned. Romp, secretly Moksho, is able to basically take vehicles and turn them into living constructs, closest to having like Rachel's power, where they become like semi-animalistic and kind of like cartoony, like how those old-timey cartoons would have like a car get angry and step up on its like hind tires like it was like a biped human, and like use the front tires as little boxing arms. Also as seen in Kingdom Hearts 2, where you get to go to an old-timey cartoon and fight said cars. They were just the first example I could think of. These weird constructs show up, and they're like sturdy enough and big enough that they just completely overrun the skin slips. And then let's see here. Tecton does another shake. The murder rats aren't able to leap at anyone for a bit. And then a mannequin shows up. Oh shit. But it's a giant size mannequin, 3 times the usual size, thick-wise. And then Kopf is back to throwing metal discuses, but it's just not quite enough damage to take this guy down. He's still, unfortunately, because it hits the outside of the mannequin body, cuffs discus, and she actually manages to get it to like hit inside, but then that same like ice stuff from the first, like, well, not the first from the second battlefield in 26.3, that ice stuff breaks out of it. So it's like this defensive technology for this mannequin, who we will come to know as Snowman, because it is a hybrid creature between mannequin and winter. And it leaps down. It actually picks up a hatchet face, which, remember, hatchet face is like a huge dude, but it casually picks one up, like a moblin picking up a bokoblin, and then throws him into combat. Again, much as a moblin will throw a bokoblin straight at Link. And then Tecton just keeps using his like pile drivers to punch this hatchet face once he's near, and he's like doing a big multi-hit combo. He's trying to keep him off balance and crap. And he's doing some damage. And then the mannequin is like running at them now, and they're like, oh shit, mannequin's gonna be at full power even though hatchet face is here. And then they direct all their attacks toward hatchet face, and they manage to they're like cutting his throat and stuff, and he's still alive for a second. And the mannequin's whirling up like the whirling dervish that it always loves to be. The snowman, in fact. And it's like a I guess the thickness makes it like snowman, so that actually works like thematically as well. That's cute. I didn't think of that until just now. Yeah, Snowman's like switching opponents rapidly, going from Tecton to Romp, and then Tecton finally manages to murderize Hatchet Face by like pile driving directly into Hatchet Face's mouth, and just getting like the perfect hit off to like explode the bottom half of his face. Normal hero stuff. And then let's see here. A bunch of powers and bullets are starting to be shot at Snowman, but then the problem is that this is exactly when they realize that the winter side of the Snowman had been powered off by Hatchet Face, and now it's powered back on. And so the shots are sinking too early, not making solid hits, and Grace is back up, and she's trying to swing the axe that Hatchet Face had been holding, but as they deal damage to Snowman, then that icy stuff keeps exploding out. And then Tecton's trying to hem it in while the Romp monster runs in to fight. It says he was being abused, battered. And then boop 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 boop. Chevalier has arrived on the battlefield and is trying to fire in cannon blade shots, but the winter power is causing it to not do very well, either not hit or again be like glancing blows. And the wards are starting to move slower. They're being put into torpor. Oh, Greg said something. Got to be careful when fighting Snowman. If you kill her, it destroys the universe. Yeah, more Homestuck references. Mannequin, Snowman is doing the spinning blades technique, And Chevalier is running in to fight directly, but unfortunately, even though it seemed like perhaps the snowman was gonna zoom at Chevalier, it just zoops up to a rooftop instead, and they can't really do ranged attacks. Even Revel's like super sweet orbs don't seem to work. But then like Wanton gets in there, and it seems like Wanton isn't stopped at all. Wanton's power, like the debris he starts with, keeps hitting the ice that's already there, and when you break away some of the ice, as we know, more ice like piles out of the same spot, and so he's like continuously getting more and more ice in his vortex, and it's like becoming a denser and denser storm that's like slamming into Snowman. And then when the storm comes to a stop, then Chevalier is he's preparing to attack, but then they realize miasma starts knocking him out. And then at the direction of Taylor, Revel hits the deck, and Chevalier wild swings his sword and kills the fuck out of miasma. It says the villain rolled and disappeared again, but then Revel blasts, and miasma wasn't fast enough to dodge all of them. He and another miasma, who was also there, were burned. Holes the size of softballs punched through their torsos. It's hard to go on living when you have giant holes drilled through you. Some people say. I would never. And then Cuff, using her power, is helping Tecton off the ground, which I think is awesome. Like, she's just like telekinetically pulling him, metallokinetically, pushing his armor. And I just think that's neat. They're like a really cool pair. And then boop 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 boop. They sling down 2 high technical nets by like having Tecton fire them from like his pile drivers, like their launchers. So he shoots out the nets. Mannequin's stuck in the net, and it's got spider silk and metal interwoven, and they're just going ham hog wild on this net. And it snags on, Mannequin. He can't get out. Well, sorry, Snowman. And I guess Snowman is probably neither he nor she, so they can't get out. They have Chevalier go up and finish the jarb. Taylor's realizing that Grace is too injured for this. Chevalier's eye was stabbed. Cuff got the shoulder injured. His shoulder socket had been broken. That's pretty bad. And then it says, I almost hated to ask, and then asks, Tecton, can you join us? And then he's like, but my team. And then she's like, you can keep doing this. And he's like, no, I'm going to join you, but I'm saying my team is done for now. Chevalier compliments their good work and says that they're good to stop fighting for now. And then that also he doesn't even have to ask that he's coming on the mission too. Taylor says that he's injured, and then he gives her a beat and then says, I'll come. And then she says, glad to have you. Because she needs to remember who she's talking to. This is someone with true grit. And then she thinks to herself after the page break, it was suicidal. Returning to Nilbog's kingdom, where his creations had riled themselves up, hungry for blood. And then she thinks, like, she tries to assure herself, maybe their forces will be thin near the center because of the sustained attacks from the surrounding areas. It's like, I don't know about that. I think that's some copium right there. And then she looks around the dragon craft. They're in the Pendragon. And then it's Chevalier, Revel, Hoyden, Tecton, Bitch, Two Dogs, Bastard, Foil, Parian, and me. It's funny because when I listed them in my little document, I just read them off that thing, but I listed Parian, Foil, Bitch, Two Dogs, and Bastard, Tecton, Hoyden, Revel, Chevalier, Defiant, Two Dragon's Teeth Soldiers, and Weaver, all loaded into the Pendragon. If I needed a reference list for myself. And then she talks about the DT soldiers and how they had containment foam and other traditional PRT munitions, and like guild Tinkertech and stuff. They're the baddest ass guys that Defiant knew. He's like, all the Dragon's Teeth are badasses, but these are the two best ones. And then, and also she had demanded, not demanded, but she had requested from Defiant, bugs. In fact, that was a moment earlier when she was talking to him where she was like, oh, God, I love my weird work relationship with Defiant, where I never have to say please or thank you, and he never does it either. It's the greatest thing that's ever happened in my life. And because she hates saying please and thank you. She would get along great with Killua. She'd be like, now that we're friends, we don't say thank you to each other. Because we just pull each other out of battle, or out of jams all the time, you know? Oh, Killua. So Taylor's trying to think of, like, how, she's, like, considering the situation, how Nilbog's army seems endless. No matter how weak they are individually, they just keep coming. They've been able to hold the line, but it's just, like, it's been, like, 20 minutes of straight, like, things running out and dying. There are 3 new cities being attacked. It says they're coordinated strikes, harbingers being sighted with Nilbog creatures as reinforcements. So Defiant clenches his fists. This news is coming from a strange man's voice. It's Saint. And then Defiant's like, just focus on this. Our focus is here. And then Hoyden goes, fucking right. And she turns to Rachel. Right? Rachel frowns and doesn't say anything. Hoyden punches her in the shoulder and goes, right? And then she goes, right. And then Hoyden yells, right! Hoyden's trying to get them all pumped. She's like, we are on this level, and we need to get to this level. But yes, the final secret member of their away mission, clonk, 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 up the ramp, is Golem. Doot, 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 doot. Golem. So yeah, Golem doesn't say anything. He's all eyes downcast, you know. She goes, "It was nothing, a minor thing in the grand scheme of it all. I tried to tell myself that he was strong when it counted, whatever his doubt in the quiet moments." And then the ramp closes. Golem jumps a bit, which she goes, "Oh, confidence shaken." And then she looked, she says, "I glanced around at the others, wondered who else had seen it." The Pendragon took off. And off we go, into the lion's den. Yeah, this is a pretty dang good chapter. I think this is like a really, really high-end chapter. There's so much going on. There's constant, like, interlaced dialogue between tons of characters. There's, like, so many powers pinging off each other. They switch places of two groups so that they, like, match powers better. Like, all this different shit's happening. Taylor's going through, like, a crisis of faith and how they're going about this because of what Golem said, and then reorients how she wants to do things, and then needs to, like, convince everybody to get on board. And it all just, like, flows, and she's doing the thing. There's page breaks between, like, fun battlefields and stuff. Her monitoring all the battlefields without actually, like, personally trying to get to one to fight is, like, a great, like, premise for this chapter, I think, as well, and for, like, her having to, like I said, kind of take over the dragon role, use her thinker power, but not her master power, and just go for it. Final chapter thoughts. I love this chapter. If I could change one thing about this chapter, it is that I already think that Wildbow overuses the word summarily in this particular work in Worm, but this chapter uses the word summarily twice, and I just think it's too much. I think one would have been okay, but I was already thinking about how it's used too much in the book when I heard it the first time on the reread, and then when I heard it the second time, I was like, oh no! I think it's maybe not even something you would pick up on the first read, but it does stick out to me. When you're writing so many words, like such a long story, then some things are going to get reused that you kind of forget that you used. Like, another one that gets used probably too many times in the story is Taylor goes, like, the windstorm blows down the sturdy oak, but the swishy willow stays up, whatever the actual quote is. And she thinks of that ancient proverb, and it happens like 3 or 4 times in the story. But again, this is like an hour-long audiobook chapter or so, and they only repeat the word once, so it's not, like, egregious. It's just sticks out to me because I've read this so many times, kind of thing. But yeah, the other thing that stuck out to me that has never stuck out to me before, because when I'm just reading it, I'm, like, kind of in the moment, scene to scene, but when I was sort of analyzing it this time, it was weird that whatever town that the Siberian, or city the Siberian was attacking was just completely unnamed. Because, like, we know Redfield, Hyde Park, we know, like, all the Killington, like, all these specific places, but then just a city. I don't know, it's a city. And then let's see here. Yeah, I think that's all I got for final chapter thoughts here. For arc stuff, this chapter, in my opinion, fits well tonally, and it is like multiple of the previous chapter vignettes at the same time. And I wrote Weaver Am become administrator, which is, of course, forced by Dragon's absence by being down for the count. And then the characters list is like insane. Some of these are going to be very brief because they just like have a line or two. Some of them, like, I have more to say about. Not even in the actual chapter. Jack, Bonesaw, Nilbog talked about a bunch. They actually, I wrote down 8 Siberians lower, but I didn't mention that Siberians with the group, that group of 3, because it's just like, Siberian's like a tinker tool for Jack. Like, that's the level of it. It's not like, not like a character with agency at all. A lot of the clones don't have agency, but I kind of did say which ones, just because we'll kind of know which ones get wiped out. So Jack, kind of maintaining his pace. He's like succeeding in the way he wants to succeed. He's winning, some would say. Bonesaw seems to have been able to co-opt Nilbog and be forcing him into creating creatures. We know from the moderate spoilers of the next chapter that she's putting control frames on the newly minted creatures so that they're excreted out into a grody goblin body, and then they're immediately like drilled into by Tinkertech and then physically controlled to do Bonesaw's bidding until they get exterminated by the heroes. So, the horrific nature of parahumans lives on. So then I noted Saint / lack of dragon. It's like noticeable in the chapter all the times that they don't have the AI suits helping them, and it's like the Dyna prediction said in the Saint chapter, like, even if whatever thing, like end of the world scenario, has a better percent chance to not happen, like the casualty numbers are spiking because we don't have Azazels to blast people. Victoria says, glad Riley is not being evil anymore. Yes. Hey, Vic. Yep, Riley's just being good. Riley's just, doing horrific nightmare stuff, but is good now, or something. Anyway, Greg says, she's just a little gal. Yeah. Bonesaw's gonna be like, I'm just a little gal, and it's my birthday. You can't be mad at me. Vic says she's doing horrific nightmare stuff and not having quite as much fun as before. That's true. She's having slightly less fun. Like 10% less. So, is conflicted. So yeah, Saint popping up on the comms one time, Taylor not knowing who he is, and then Defiant being like, I'll talk about it later. It's very funny. Obviously I, in a grand scheme sense, am also shaking my fist at Saint, like, damn you. But it's funny when Defiant does it. So, moving past Saint and the lack of dragon, the sad having to use a helicopter world that we're back in. Revel, I wrote down Revel / Shuffle, because Shuffle doesn't have a big enough part to get, like, their own entry. I'll just say Shuffle first. Is obviously in the Protectorate team that is from Chicago, because he works under Revel, and I think his power is cool when he's like random shuffling the land masses, and he keeps doing it until they get like a solid barrier between them and the inside of Ellisburg. So yeah, Shuffle, interesting guy, willing to push back on Revel, like not too heavily, not like being antagonistic, but just like putting meaningful input and not just going along with Revel's initial instincts. Which Jouster also does that. I think that there's a healthy amount of push and pull, and Shuffle and Jouster are both like protectorate level people. I don't think Jouster would be at the level of Shuffle. He wouldn't be like kind of the lieutenant to a leader, probably. But, you know, he has graduated from being the leader of a wards team, so he's already pretty well respected for having led a team, I would imagine. But I just liked the interplay between those three characters in that scene. And Revel also notably, you know, we get to see in combat a little bit. She frags some people, and she is joining the, like, Ultra Squad of people going into Ellisburg to enter the Death Zone on the other side of the portal. It's not called the Death Zone, but it kind of is like a evil, scary pocket dimension zone. I mean, it's technically value neutral, but because Bonesaw was there ever, it's evil. I guess it's the clone zone. I should call it the clone zone. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about just very briefly, the Hyde Park 9 members, the Night Hags, Nixes, Psychosomas. I thought it was a good mix. I thought it made a lot of sense. Psychosoma's power was being used defensively and offensively and being used for Nyx tricks. Yeah. Just good stuff all around. And then, also, I know this is more of a powers knowledge thing, but seeing Night Hag, just eat Jouster, just, like, so quick. He just needed to touch his lance to that light pole again, but it was too quick. Hyde Park heroes, Jouster, of course, he gets off one last pithy line to Revel before being eaten alive for being too useful. Night Hag killed him first because he could dispel the Nyx stuff. Man, Jouster's power was so cool. He would have been so helpful in the Ultra team. But then Hoyden, who was also there, is... Oh, wait. I listed Hoyden in my list. Hoyden, also on the Ultra team, survives the Hyde Park fight and is, like, the brashest and most, like upbeat one of all of them right now. It's kind of crazy how upbeat she is because she literally just saw, like, one of her friends get eaten alive. I mean, I guess she didn't know him that well because he was from New York and she was from Texas, but, like, they all kind of know each other. They've all fought on the same side before. They've, like, literally been side by side in a fist fight in New York before. So, yeah, she's just, like, crazy upbeat for, like, the fact that he was splorched. The Dragon's Teeth soldiers who are in Hyde Park, I suspect, are the ones that they scooped to be in the super team. Some unnamed ward, the young hero, it said, was completely fragged by a flame-based power from some other unnamed cape. Don't have too much more to say about them. I do love Hoyden's scene with Rachel. Great moment. Oh, Vic says, I just imagine all Texas women are like Hoyden. Yeah, they're just like Hoyden. You're right. Yeah! They're all Applejack from the show Friendship is Magic. I haven't watched enough of that to truly know Applejack's personality, but I'm gonna pretend that she's pretty yee. Vic says yes, exactly. Her personality is y'all. Nice. So, yes, after moving on, we've got the 4 capes who solved the problem. You know, I added the clairvoyant here because I feel like Doormaker's actually useless without the clairvoyant. Maybe I don't understand his power, but I don't think he can operate alone in a nearly as helpful way. But I wrote Contessa, Numberman, Doormaker, Clairvoyant, and between the 4 of them, they clean up those Hyde Park Slaughterhouse 9 capes in like 30 seconds. Would have been nice if they showed up like 30 seconds earlier. I don't know. But they get in, they destroy, and they get out. They are in and out. And the Redfield Slaughterhouse 9, there's Snowman, which is with 2 N's actually, according to the book and wiki. So Snowman, because of mannequin, it's like a pun. I thought was a very interesting cape design. I loved that there was a cape that was so large. And I guess like had they not been like wiped out, there could be a or I don't think they were all wiped out, but a few of the crawlers were destroyed, and if a crawler got large enough, they could probably do this as well. But just grabbing Hatchet Face and throwing him into a crowd like that was excellent. I like that a lot. But Snowman, Skin Slips, Miasmas, Murder Rats, and Hatchet Face is here. We really don't get that much of a personality for Skin Slip. Like, we vaguely know before he was in the Slaughterhouse 9 that he was a villain, but it doesn't really sound like he was going on crazy murder sprees. Like, I don't know where he was getting the skin he was using, but they didn't seem to consider him to be, like, kill orderable, which typically if you're going on, like, a murder spree to steal skin, then you get a kill order. And then the miasmas, we know nothing about them, other than one can dodge roll, whoop, whoop, only to get burnt to death. Murder rats, sadly, we do know, are the Ravager and Mouse Protector combo, and this is the chapter where we learn Mouse Protector is the reason that Murder Rat can teleport through people she has wounded. And I have my headcanon that when Mouse Protector did it, and it was the full power and not just a halfie, that Mouse Protector could cut mouse holes in solid surfaces. Vic says, maybe he's like Parian, can work fine with fabric, but chooses to be a freak. Winky tongue out. Ah. Yeah, maybe before he was doing it with like with leather or something. And now he's like, oh, I'm Slaughterhouse 9, I'm gonna be an edgy boy now. They'll try and kill me if I'm not edgy. And then he has to just use like piles of limbs. Oh, like that game Limbo, which I like when I had the moment of revelation, having watched like other, I never played Limbo, but I watched other people play it several times. And I was like, oh, it's not like he's in the concept of Limbo. In my mind, now the title refers to the blob covered in limbs as like Dumbo, the character Dumbo, but Limbo. So you do this whole journey, and eventually you come across Limbo. Yeah, Yeah, exactly. Greg's right. Limbo. Um, which is, yes. Um, so yeah, Skin Slip is being a real limbo. Hatchet Face, something that I was thinking about just now is I just don't know how Hatchet Face was able to like operate in the group with the Slaughterhouse 9 when he was turning their powers off all the time. Like, wouldn't the Siberian short out and not I don't know. I don't know how anything works. Maybe it's like the controller could be far away, and so then the controller never got close enough to Hatchet Face to cancel it out. Whatever. Whatever. I just, Hatchet Face's power brings up questions in my mind. I'm like, would Hatchet Face's power be enough to cut off Jack from his Corona Palencia, which would override the fact that Jack can kind of win any parahuman fight by, like, his brain being connected to the, like, communication bit of powers? I don't know. These are all questions that I have in my brain. But as for the characters with solid personalities, Gru, Imp, Bitch, Clockblocker, Vista, Crucible, Toggle, Parian, Foil. They've got quite the group going. I don't know what happened to Kid Win, but he's clearly off somewhere else shooting at someone. He would have been pretty damn useful in this scenario, if I'm being real. Like, all of his tech still works, and he just, like, uses ultra guns to blow up the Hatchet Faces. Like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So Brian Gru is, like, being, like, Taylor has her, like, Sora moment where she gives up hope, and Brian has his Riku moment where she reminds him to have faith in her friends, etc. Because he just, like, starts really field leadering the group and is able to, like, muster their forces, and he's like, don't give up, and it rules. Vic says, yeah, he seemed like a bad addition. I'm assuming she meant Hatchet Face to the 9. But it's funnier to think that Vic meant bringing Kid Win along. Nah, I know he can kill Hatchet Face, but he's a bad addition. So Vic says, yeah, I hate Kid Win. A permanent hate for Kid Win. Says he was bringing down the vibes. Yeah, for having ruined Jessica's life. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. I think Brian really, it's like he has this like prove himself moment, but it's still not all the way there for Taylor. She doesn't want him coming into this like intense, crazy battle. Like the Nilbog stuff is just the fucking most nightmare stuff aside from Bonesaw. And they're working together now, so. Then Aisha, her power gets canceled out, so she's just like running around like a normal for a bit, and it's but you know, she's always just got a normal body running around a battlefield, so she is at least as nimble as ever, able to escape back with the rest of the group. Bitch has a great moment where, like, she decides to totally change tactics last second to confuse the enemy, and it gives Taylor that great idea. See, Rachel's always going like, you've got a plan, don't you? But Taylor's always like just staring at other people until she thinks of the plan last second. So she usually doesn't have a plan when Rachel says she has a plan, but then she's got a plan 5 seconds later. Clock Blocker was goddamn useless on that battlefield in Redfield, and then he was like the perfect counter to Siberian, so he gets a moment to shine as well. Vista continuing to be the MVP in that fight, like just completely murderizing, insta-gibbing multiple people with the pistol that she got from Kid Win, just blowing away entire torsos. And she's really Johnny on the spot with the shooting, because she waits. She knows they're under threat from that one murder rat, and like has a perfect defense, like ready to action, blast, turns around, blast. And then Vic says Vista really should have had a gun the whole time. I think they didn't want to give a little girl a gun, but they're like, okay, you're 15 now. You get to have the, what is it called? The gun from Men in Black, the screaming cricket or whatever the hell. The loud cricket. I don't know. You know the one I mean. It's a teeny gun, and it has a whole missile that explodes out of it. Crucible's there. Again, really bad for this fight. Completely useless. Isn't able to help. And I'm pretty sure when they do the forces shuffle, they take Crucible and Vista, and they don't send them to the same place. Or sorry, not Vista, Crucible and Toggle, because I don't think they're actually useful against Siberian. So I think they immediately like tag them into another battle, because we don't hear about them after the forces transfers. Perian and Foil, like basically the most useless without their powers. Foil's a hand-to-hand combat specialist, but that literally requires her balance and timing powers, so I guess she can fight without those, but I don't know. If you basically always use them and then you suddenly don't have them, I imagine you'd just be like falling the fuck over. It's like you're a human with a sense of balance and suddenly you don't have a sense of balance. Oh no, I can't stand up. So Hatchet Face, incredibly negatively impactful on all of them. Also, I love that Gru carpeted the area in darkness to their advantage after that. After they kill after they like get their powers available from Vista killing the Hatchet Face. And like that is the narrative reason that Taylor doesn't just stare at their fight the entire time, because she cares about them like way more than anybody else. Chicago Wards group. We had Tecton, Grace, Koff, Wanton, Cadence, and Enforce. Cadence and Enforce, I don't think get transferred with their group over to Redfield. But maybe they just don't do anything in the fight. I don't know who the hell Enforce is. I don't know if that's a nickname for someone. I can't think of any heroes who it would be like a swapped out name for. Whatever. Never mentioned again. Only there so that there could be a pun. And the final member of their group was Romp. And I put Romp slightly below because I had more to say about Romp specifically. A lot of these other ones I'm just, vibing through. But for Romp, I said, when we see her use her power, it's recognizable as the same power Mock Show uses, much like the continuity nod stuff we talked about with Gru's extra tough body. This is another example from the audience participation question from chapter 26.3. And This one we actually get direct confirmation for because Maksho is listed in the credits for the chapter, the like tagged characters, I guess. Other characters on that group. Tecton, kind of at the end of his rope with Taylor in some ways, but he doesn't like directly express it. But I'm sure he's got to be getting like hung up on while they're mid phone conversation, and she's like, "You got to get out of there," and he's like, "We can't just leave these civilians," and she's like, "No, you can, and you will." Uh, uh, Grace, Grace and Cuff having a bad time, getting injured badly. I mean, they're very useful in the fights, but they get hurt. And Wanton is ridiculously useful. Like completely counters Snowman for some reason, which I wouldn't have guessed before seeing the interaction of powers. I would have been like, okay, so he's gonna break some ice chips, and then it's not gonna like be able to cause more bigger spots that wound him. But it's like, no, it just worked enough to lock down like the ice creation and to keep exploding more ice out of the little wounds that they had accrued. It was really cool to see them do their thing. And then Cadence, I think, is mentioned other times, but I don't know what Cadence does. 8 Siberians. It's described by Tattletale that Jack is bored by the concept of Siberian. Someone who projects a thing is boring. Someone who is indestructible and never spoke and was like a animal lady, that was cool. But this is boring. So yes, 8 Siberians destroyed by a very powerful combo attack. Clock blocker plus foreign assistance capes from India, the Tanda, dropping the nukes. Then I wrote Tanda member. We don't really get any input from him. We just know that guy from the Cauldron meeting scene. And then Chevalier is sort of bopping around, assists with the Redfield fight at the end, and reinforces the Chicago wards along with Revel. Gets injured, but is still just like, I'm on Team Ultimate Cape Crew. And he even has a bit of humor here where when Taylor tries to turn him away for being injured, he's just like, are you kidding me? Do you remember who I am? And then Defiant. Defiant's a big stony-faced sad boy. It helps his case that he's always a stony-faced sad boy, but now it's more than before. And he's busy clenching his fist. Saint, I'll get you. And then pretty much same as the other recent chapters. He gives a lot of pushback to the idea of them going into Ellisburg. He thinks that this plan's crazy. But when Taylor sells him on it, she really sells him on it. And he's wholesale in, because you can't question the plan once you're already doing the plan. Don't enter Ellisburg if you're not ready to enter Ellisburg. Tattletale on the comms constantly. She is remotely going in with them into battle. She was advising the Undersiders through most of the stuff, and then was also, chiming in for other stuff. But you know, there were moments when people had to yell at her, like, be constructive. I think that Brian literally says those words. So she's seeing all the problems, and she's still in a state where she's messing with Taylor. So that's fun at least. Great Lisa Tattletale representation. Second favorite character of mine, as many know. Then we've got Theo. Theo is unsure of himself, feels like he didn't do enough, etc., etc. He's having problems. And not just is he unsure of himself, but Taylor is unsure of him and is like, is this guy really got the goods? She keeps reassuring herself, no, he's always stepped up to the plate when it counted, but then is also going, oh God, he's not going to step up to the plate when it counted. So they're in a state of turmoil over Theo's inner turmoil. Then Taylor herself, she really listened to Theo at the beginning. I know she was arguing back at him and they had some back and forth or whatever. But after he walked away, even though she had counter-argumented to him, she really took what he said into account and thought about it. And it's not just that she just immediately was like, well, he's right. It's like she thought about it and she sort of put all these data pieces together and realized, oh, shit, Jack really has been, like, sweeping me up into his rhythm. So, Taylor did some real un-Taylor-like behavior this chapter. Some non-compartmentalization. She put all the facts in the same box, the same compartment, and then they weren't comparted from each other. So Taylor, possible growth? But you got to remember that all of that was in service of her creating a new, even more reckless, even more dangerous scenario. So possible ungrowth? Sideways growth? Who could even say? So I think that's the end of our characters list, unless I have forgotten someone, but I don't think that I did. I think the rest of the characters are unnamed. Powers, things I wanted to touch about. Nilbog creatures, we still get to hear about. They're much less detailed, but we get to hear about the different ones. Like, there's the gargoyle one. There's ones, you know, moling and worming to the surface. There's ones that are getting paradropped by the other flyers, even as the flyers get, like, shot out of the sky. There's, like, a rhino one that's, like, trying to punch a hole in Shuffle's wall defenses. Yeah, the Clockblocker Siberian Powers interaction is a big one. I agree, Vic. I have that listed here under the last little section. It's also included with the Tonda meteor attack. The fact that they came up with this, like, idea, like, first they were like, well, we could drop her in a pit because she's subject to gravity, and, like, they were like, I don't know that that is worth it. It sounds like you're just exposing yourself and making her kill you for nothing. And so they do not do the pit attack. Because even if they manage to do the pit, like, what's their follow-up to destroy the cube? Grace kicks it or something? Romp uses a motorized vehicle that's turned into a big monster to punch it? I just don't think any of that stuff is as good as dropping a meteor. So by switching up the forces, they do lose some more civilians, but they have a chance to contact their powerful allies. And the fact that the clock blocked stuff shorts out the Siberian, that surprised me. I didn't think that would happen. For some reason I thought that the Siberian side of it would override it. Like, I thought this would be an ultimate offense beats ultimate defense thing. But then I've got to remind myself that despite how powerful the projection is, it's not as powerful as, like, Sting or something that could actually cut through, like Foil's power. Oh, I said the name of the arc. Oh, shit. But yeah, so it was really cool to see the Siberian get shorted out and the projection go away, and for it to not be immediately able to resume moments later. And it's sort of the hubris of thinking, like, this is the most unstoppable power that made them just walk into clock blocker line, you know? Like, oh, no powers interaction has ever hurt the projection. Haha! You got. The other things I had, I already talked about Shuffle plenty. Eyes on the Lightning. I know I talked about it during the chapter, but I love when they code phrase. They have their own, like, Master Stranger protocols that are, like, for DT people only. When they put down their full, like RoboCop helmets, and they full face close themselves off from the world, and they're just taking, like, digital inputs from the Tinker Tech, and then Taylor is leading, you know, their group by watching through all of their helmets at once. It rules. Eyes on the Lightning. And then what's the other bird? It's, like, going dark. Yeah, we're going full dark. Eyes on the Lightning. And then the call and response is that she just also says eyes on the Lightning. But, yeah. She's only, like, passingly familiar, and she's like, I wasn't typically an armchair general. Usually I was out there cutting people with my own knife. But here I was, directing troops. Ugh, disgusting. I guess I'm going to put this in, like, this section of the thing. I love the formatting of this chapter. Her, like, looking through the screens and talking over the comms for the most of it. Because, like, she has so much sensory awareness usually, but this is just, like, a very different amount of interaction. And the fact that she's not sensing through her bugs means she can't assist through her bugs, you know? Her current job is Tattletale's normal job, and she's pretty good at it. And that's really cool to watch her lean on the thinker side of her power too. I mean, technically she could just do it without a thinker power, but you gotta believe that she's using her ultra multitasking so that she can watch all the screens at once. And then I think that's the end of my powers, knowledge, and world building thing. Oh no, I do want to talk about, I guess, the dodge portal. The fact that it was such a good premise that they couldn't follow the 9 because of the portal entrance needing to be known. And, like, that has carried so much water for the story, and, like, it wasn't just a limitation before, it is a story opportunity now for when they, like, made their escape. And it also means what Golem did, like, despite how he feels, they didn't fail inside Nilbog's kingdom to, like, some unbelievable degree. They really did succeed, like, probably as far as could possibly be expected of them. And the success was that they forced Jack and Bonesaw to create another portal. Vic says she has bugs looking at each screen. That way she has extra eyes. That's funny. I like the idea that was helping her. But yeah, I find it like another. No one says, I'm glad we went in there because we forced them to cause this rift because that allows us to do the thing. But it was only through what happened in the previous chapter that they managed to create this opportunity. So, anyway, I'm going to move on to the audience participation question. This one for 26.5 is create and describe your own goopy Nilbog creature. And in parentheses, they do not actually have to be goopy. I'm actually going to paste my answers into the chat so that the non-listener Halloween, if ever reading this, can see my answers. Let's give them a little enter. Okay, and I will read my answers last. But Vic said, my goblin is called Concrete Hovel. He's a big, beefy boy, 6-ish legs, like a furry, rectangular thing with a giant mouth on top. Goblins can drop enemies into the mouth, and they will be stored inside of Concrete Hovel for safekeeping. And then there's a cat bus picture from Totoro. I am seconding Greg's abandoned house emoji, giving it an orange heart, and I'm giving it a worm. Concrete Hovel is a goddamn winner. And then Vic also says, you know, something like this for shape about the cat bus. Another use for Concrete Hovel is ob for transportation and safekeeping of fellow goblins. Yes, you can just dunk a bunch of goblins and then Concrete Hovel could hopefully spew them out at people. Vic says many uses. Greg's answer is not quite answering your question, but I want there to be an opossum that wandered into Ellisburg, and instead of eating it, all of the goblins were like, behold, the great goblin sage! And they gave it a fancy hat and nod along whenever it makes opossum noises. Yes, this gets a orange heart and a worm. And I'm going to give my own answer just a worm. I think it deserves a worm at least, but I can't give an orange heart to my own creation. Vic says, you can also put in salad ingredients and it'll toss it. Man, Concrete Hovel's so useful. I'm glad we live in a Concrete Hovel. So the three that I came up with, because I was concerned that in fact there may be no answers. As we know, a lot of these questions I end up just pontificating on myself. But three of them, the first named Worm. This little guy is a mammal-type creature, but it's still shaped like a worm and has oversized mole teeth to munch through soil, trying to pick up any nutrients it can from underground. It has no eyes, but is very good at sensing vibrations through dirt around it. Greg says, salad tosser sounds like a very different goblin. Vic says, oh, like the Alaskan bullworm. It's very much like the Alaskan bullworm. And it's just constantly like going underground in Ellisburg to try and like eat underground bugs like worms, and you know how there's a bunch of nutrients in soil that plants like. Well, he is pooping that into the food monster, because you know the thing that pukes out the food, you gotta poop into its mouth, right? Take that, you worm. As Vic says. So yes, worm. I like him. You know what? For some reason, I put a period at the end of the sentence for that one, and I didn't for any of the others, but I'm just going to leave it. It's going to be an unedited. My next creation is Ward. Looks kind of like a suit of full plate armor, holding an oversized shield in each hand. The outside shell is made of keratin, denser than a rhino horn. Instead of having actual hands holding the shields, they're just extended growths from the ends of the arms. And although there's something that looks like eyes in the helmet, it actually shoots venomous darts from there, and the real eyes are in the torso and camouflage, so they can easily be hidden behind the shield hands. Vic says, I'm seeing a pattern here. The third one and final one is Pale, a willowy humanoid torso atop 6 thin spidery legs. She has a full head of hair that covers where your face would be in long bangs that keep you from ever seeing the blank expanse of skin. Heightened hearing allows her to monitor Ellisburg quickly, and quick near silent movements help her to seem to just appear when called for. Oh, and then we got Take That, You Ward. Take that, you Pale. Yes, and I did, as a joke, as a little bit of a bit, name my 3 creations after 3 Wildbow works. And it's funny, because I didn't know at the time I was doing that you were also going to name your goblin, and your goblin name was better than my goblin names. I still like mine, but yeah, I don't know why. Like, the first one I thought of is like, what if there was a worm one? And I'm like, but the book is called Worm. And I was like, no, this one is named Worm. They all have like shitty little names, so he's just called Worm. And I was like, wow, wouldn't it be silly if there was also one called Ward? And then I was like, I could just make it like an Armos Knight that is like the living armor from Dungeon Meshi with like a grody like mollusk living inside. And then I was like, what would be a good organic source of armor? And then I'm like, keratin, obvious. And then for Pale, I was like, can I make a creature that's just like Miss? Kind of, thematically. Not like exactly, but yes. I made it like, I know that Miss doesn't have spider legs, but I think of her as like sort of, she doesn't walk so much as she sort of floats towards things with her unknowable bottom half. I only read a bit of, I read the first part of Pale, and so my misrememberings of reading Pale several years ago attribute to this creature being more interesting. Taylor doesn't walk either. She always skitters. Thank you, Vic. Oh, boy. I don't know if I worded this question for 26.6 the world's best, but I think it's close enough. What are some cool examples of pocket dimensions or small void spaces and such from other media? I have a good example to give when we do it, because I've just played a video game that is about going into little voids and fixing them so the real world gets fixed. So I got an easy out. Yeah, and then Vic says, "Ooh, I'll talk about Gideon." Hell yeah. So I think that's about it. I'm gonna start up the dark ambient music, and as we may recall, this is Dark Ambient Music Asylum 01 by CO.AG Music from several years ago. We've got the YouTube link in the stream description for every chapter in this arc. Our other links can be found in the stream description as well as the channel description, such as the Discord server link, the link to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/Wildbow, the link to the text of the work for free at parahumans.wordpress.com and the free fan-made audiobook at audioworm.rain-online.org. So, I'm going to, let these spooky and ominous noises play out. And to Vic, I return your bye! I will see all of you listeners and readers. Cheers for the stream, Greg. I will see all of you at the recording of 26.6, where more spooky, scary events will happen. Perhaps things even more shocking than what have happened up to now.